What's up there, social media family? It's Chris, your favorite host, and you're here. Conversations with Chris. Again, no rhyme or reason of why I do this. I just meet interesting people that have got things to share, and I rather get to know them and ask them questions for everyone to hear. So, today we're diving into something that doesn't get talked about enough, especially among people who look like they've got it all together. So I want to welcome Karen Hinds. Karen Hinds, she's so many things. A leadership consultant and author and the CEO of Workplace Success Group. And she's got more than 25 years advising leaders and organizations on culture, performance, and navigating complexity. The newest thing we're adding to her resume is a TEDx speaker at our upcoming TEDx event over here in Lake Worth Beach. So I'm excited to hear you talk live, and I'm excited right now to dive in and figure out, learn a little bit about what you're going to be talking about live.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Hello to everyone. So glad you're here with us. So, what am I talking about? A countdown, 2 weeks now, Chris?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
March 8th.
Countdown 2 weeks. Well, who's counting, right? I'm going to be talking about how important it is to have community and to ask for help. That it is not a sign of weakness and it is not a sign of immaturity. Imagine that. It goes counter to everything most of us were taught when we were growing up. So that's my topic coming up in a couple of weeks.
And that's awesome. It's and in the business world and leadership, you've got a lot of entrepreneurs and founders and CEOs that kind of, they kind of start off going at it alone. And I'm just curious, what was the moment that you realized that being self-sufficient wasn't actually serving you?
I would say it was about 8 years ago.
Oh, we lost your audio.
Can you hear me now, Chris?
We got you.
Okay.
8 years ago.
8 years ago, I found myself going through a personal transition, a lot of things happening in my life. And I realized I had a lot of people who I could call from a business perspective, and just about no one who I could be really honest with. No one who I can bare my soul to. And I'm not talking about a therapist. I didn't need a therapist at the time. Sometimes there's a space between therapy and medicine. I don't need medication. I don't need a therapist, but there's that sweet spot. And I had no one. And I walked into a gentleman's office, and unknowingly, I didn't know at the time, he became that person. And I realized, wait a minute, there's something here. And he walked with me through that very difficult period. And then I recreated that for my friends and their friends and their friends. And I said, something is different. And I started seeing these women flourish. And we couldn't quite figure out what it was. And then I realized, you need people, but you don't need just any people. I'm not talking about just finding people on the street and connecting with them. So yeah, that's.
So were you, and then that was like 8 years ago, you said?
Mm-hmm, yes.
Yeah. And then, then fast forward a little bit, we had this pandemic happen, and you made a decision somewhere around there to start over somewhere new.
Brand new.
But like, what did that season strip away from you?
All the pretense. It stripped away the need to follow the script. Our theme next week is unscripted. I think if all of us examine how we show up, unless you've done the work, you're following a script. You're following the expectations. You're following the stories. You were told to go to school, get an education, get married, have a kid. We're following a script. And I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. And I packed up, sold everything, and moved to a part of the country where I knew no one, had no business, no clients, nothing, in July of 2020. Crazy, right? And it taught me exactly what I'm going to be talking about in 2 weeks. That if you are mindful, if you're aware, that you are able to show up in your, we all say authentic self, but show up real, show up raw, show up being able to bring not just your professional achievements, because for a lot of us, when we walk into a room, our professional achievement is the banner that we wave when we walk into a room. Hey, look at what I've done. Instead of walking in, with who you are, just being. Because if we don't have those achievements, we don't have that crutch. I don't want to have a crutch. I want you to know the essence of who I am. I want you to understand that I'm more than the title of author or CEO, or all of that goes out the window, because I'm a person first with emotions and feelings and ideas and aspirations beyond my professional accomplishments.
It's so funny that you say that, because I mean, so many, we go to these networking events, you meet people, and one of those questions that pops up is, "Hey, what do you do?"
What do you do?
And I always prefer the "Who do you be?" question, right? Because we're human beings, not human doings. And I kind of love that we're so much more than the professional badges and stuff that we're wearing. So, So after working with leaders for so many years, where do you see this belief show up most, that needing people is a weakness?
I think the higher up you go, the more it depends on the person too. So I've noticed that for a lot of people who, as they grow their career, again, you have to do the work. Doing the work means being self aware.
Mhm.
There's a point where between graduating from college and getting into those senior places, people feel they buy into the notion, I need to pull myself up by the bootstrap, and they start buying into the notion that they need to do more and push, because we're in this growing culture. And I'm a gardener at heart. I love gardening. I spend a lot of time in my garden. And what I realize is there's something about companion gardening, that when you have certain plants that are they have a symbiotic relationship, where when you put them together, they grow bigger, faster, better. The yield is exponential. The
Mm.
same thing with people and leaders. If you're able to grasp early that if you connect yourself with people who can see all of you, your successes, your accomplishments, your shortcomings, and still love you. Yes, I said the word love in business. Shudder, right? And still love
Yes.
you enough to grow with you through your seasons. Those are your people. And many of us don't have those relationships.
It's it's such an interesting, and I work with organizations, and it's particularly in I love to work with the solo entrepreneur that is hit a ceiling and they're like, where do I go from here? And it's leveraging through people. And we always have
Yes.
this concept of 1 + 1 should equal 3. So you should be able to add, you should be able to produce more together with the right people. You're talking about that symbiotic relationship. And so many people get stuck. So many leaders get stuck. If it's, nobody can do it as fast as me or as good as me, and they don't slow
No.
down to, then they get real busy and they say, where do we go from here? Um, and I say,
Yeah.
hey, I've just, one thing I'm really good at is finding people that are really good at things. I think everyone else
Mhm.
kind of, yeah.
I think people are afraid, though. I mean, to be really honest, they're afraid to be seen as not knowing. Because God forbid you say you don't know something, right? It's like a mortal sin. What, you don't know something? And I think for a lot of leaders, and I work a lot with corporate leaders, your reputation's on the line. And the best leaders are the ones who know they don't know everything. But you find that a lot of people don't want to admit they don't know. And
Yeah.
that they need the advice, they need the knowledge, the wisdom, the expertise, the support of others to really grow. So I think for a lot of people, admitting they don't know is, for them, is a sign of weakness, and it's a sign of that you're not good enough, because there's that pressure to keep producing and producing in your own self, in your own strength. And I sit and say, nope, we're not doing that anymore. I want people around me, the right people who can prune me and nurture me and grow me and help me go where I need to go. But I'm going to do the same for them as well.
Mm, that's right. I think, and I reframe that constantly. I think people that think they know everything or act like they know everything are preventing themselves from learning, achieving a deeper level of wisdom. And I think people that are, I think the more intelligent people are the people that are aware of their own ignorance, that say,
Yes.
you know what, I don't know who's better, faster, smarter at this than me.
Mhm.
And that's in leadership. It's really being able to surround yourself with people that know more in certain capacities, that are more capable with certain things. And then you kind of pave the way and provide that opportunity for them. It's just,
Yeah.
and this kind of this performance versus authenticity,
Yeah.
showing up. These are two distinct things, right? So like when you
Very.
say we're often performing rather than showing up, what does that
Yeah.
look like in everyday life?
You know, I want to ask your audience, for those of you who are listening, think
Mm,
about how often in the last week, month, that you went into a room and you were honest with how you feel, really honest about how you feel and where you are. Did you go into the room already calculating the conversation you're going to say? Did you go into the room already planning so much down to how you're going to feel and how you're going to respond? If you're doing that much mental work, you can't be honest. You can't be authentic. You have to be in the moment. You have to be present. And that means you have to be honest and
mm.
just speak. I'm not saying, just talking out the side of your mouth, but don't be so calculating that every word and every phrase and how you look and how you think, everything is really prescribed. So you have an image control piece. In other words, take off the mask, because we're all walking around with a mask of some sort because we want to be seen in a certain light.
Do you think the more successful someone appears, the
Mhm.
easier it is to hide disconnection?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was happening to me. I was successful at the time, and I was hiding my disconnection because it was easier to deal with than to deal with my feelings of inadequacy, my feelings of low self esteem, my feelings of not feeling a sense of belonging. So I was always propping up my accomplishments. And the people who I work with, I'm finding the same thing. They know how to do that well. So it's easy. It is difficult to ask someone to be honest about where they are because they're ashamed of one woman said, I've been mishandled so much in the past that I don't know how to show up authentically. I'm so ashamed of the burdens that I'm carrying that if I share it with someone, I'm afraid that they'll just run from me. And I'm thinking, all of us human beings have some version of that happening. So it's not recognizing that we're all in the same storm. We'll be having different experiences, but we're all in the same storm called life.
What's what's the cost of pretending that we don't need people?
I'm so glad you asked that one, Chris. What does it cost to
There's always
pretend
a
that
cost, right?
there is always a cost? I think you look at the people who spend a lot of time being anxious, being angry. A lot of time you find people who are constantly acquiescing to the needs of those around them, that they've lost themselves. So they're no longer able to become the full embodiment of who they were made to be. So they begin to shrink back. And as you shrink back, you become more lost in that sea of, I'm going to say, depression, anxiety, unsatisfied, career, frustrating in your family. That's what it shows up as, because I've had the opportunity for myself and to work with the women who were in this test group. We didn't even know we had a test group because we were just trying to figure it out. And we saw the peace in their homes return when they were able to show up real. We saw family relationships being mended. We saw goals and dreams that were buried for years being birthed. We saw, um, you know, so many women begin to step into, and this is some men as well, not just women, step into their true power. So if you don't step into that place, you lose that opportunity to become who you were meant to be.
It's yeah, that's huge. And I think you can't really connect with other people and build this community until you realize who you are. It starts with internally, who am I? How do I occur to the people around me?
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about yeah, I mean, you mentioned that that
Mm.
community isn't founded. It's built one person at a time. So what does it actually look like practically?
I think it's finding a space where you can just be real. You're not gonna find yourself by yourself. So that's the first thing, because you need those individuals around you who can mold and shape you and help you. So I think the first thing, anyone, what does it look like real? Take a risk and take one small moment to just have a real conversation with someone. Where you
Mm,
take off the mask and you don't pretend. Where you're just honest and just say, here's where I am. And you're
mm,
not showing your professional accomplishments, you're showing the totality of who you are, good, bad, and ugly. And yes, you take a risk And it might work, it might not. But it's again going back to gardening. There's some plants you don't put together, like the strangler fig. That is a plant in my garden. You don't want it around any of your other plants. It will literally strangle the life out of you. So some of us have people in our lives who are like strangler figs. And then we say, oh, everybody's like that. No, associate yourself with the people who are going to be nurturers, the ones who
Mhm.
you can be in the same garden of life with, where their existence actually complements yours.
Do you think it's if people find themselves attracting people that they really um, are not that are not serving them, that shouldn't be in their world? Do you think the issue is internally? Do you think they should go back to asking themselves the question: Am I showing up authentically? What's the reason that I'm attracting all these people around me
Mhm.
that I'm not connecting with, that are not the right people? Because I mean, this is huge, and it's just there's not everybody out there is meant to work with every person, and not everyone
No.
has great intentions. Do you think where do you think it starts? Somebody finds himself surrounded by people that, how did I
Mm.
get here? These are not the people that I want to break bread with. What went
Yeah.
wrong there? What can they do?
So first of all, there's a 1997 movie with Alec Baldwin and Sir Anthony Hopkins, and there's a point in the movie where the plane crashes. They're out in the wilderness somewhere, and they said people who die in the wilds, they die from shame. And they die from shame because they sit there and they beat themselves up. How did I get here? What did I do? How did I? And they replay this over and over and over and over in themselves in their head. So for the people who you're sitting down, you're thinking, how did I get here? First of all, don't die from shame. You're here. So make a list of the people who are in your life and begin asking yourself, what are they contributing to my life?
Hmm.
And you do this every year. And I like to do it every couple of months, quite frankly. And you begin to ask yourself, are they contributing or are they taking away?
Hmm.
And then you have to be clear on what is it you want. So what is it you're looking for in a relationship? Because some of us say we want honesty in a relationship, but we're not disciplined enough to do it for ourselves. So it's one, an honest evaluation, but two, a very disciplined approach, which means that you're going to have to do things differently.
It's a big deal. It's always, it always starts with numero uno, right? Like, so
Yeah.
what did you have to let go of internally in order to allow yourself to need people?
What did I have to let go of? The preconceived notions of who I thought I was. Because we have this image of who we think we are in our head, and you have to let that go and just show up. You have to let go of the limiting beliefs. I had to let those go about who in the past may have hurt me. Not everybody's going to do the same thing. I had to let go of procrastination because it meant I had to stop putting off and making it a priority to intentionally and schedule time to be with people and build those relationships. So it was a process. So it meant me changing in order to attract and be around the people who I aspire to be with. And it took a bit of time, but it also meant realizing that I am more than my mind. I am smart. I'm accomplished. I am more than my body. Yes, I work out, but also there's an internal part of me, and I call it my soul, that I had to acknowledge that that is a part of who I am as well. So that was what it took for me, and it took a while, but I'm here.
So
I'm excited.
once you started showing up vulnerably like this, I mean, did anyone react negatively when you started showing up more honestly?
Oh yeah, people were scared. They were scared. I think a couple of people looked at me kind of weird, like, "What are you doing?" And by then I realized they were not part of my garden. They did not belong in my garden because they were still living that mask life. They were still unable to take down their walls of protection. Those are when you can't be vulnerable because you're trying to protect yourself, and unnecessarily so. So it wasn't so much that they were negative, is that they were not ready for that level of
Mhm.
vulnerability and they were scared. Now I find a lot of those people come back and say, well, you have a sense of peace that I like. And I'm thinking, because I don't need to pretend. You either like what I have or you don't.
Hmm.
And not every plant belong in the same garden. So you're
Yeah.
either a part of my garden or you're not. And if
And
you're
that's
not, you hard feelings.
okay, and it's freeing. And I tell
Very
people, even in the business world, it's like sometimes I have clients who are like, "Oh, I can't stand my customers." I said, "What is it about what you're putting out there that's attracting people that you shouldn't be working with?"
exactly.
And and then sometimes this ideal, especially in the business world, independence is sometimes just armor to protect them from people, and they don't want to. They're scared to get too close to people or be vulnerable because they're going to open themselves up to be hurt or judged or rejected, all these things.
Independence is armor. Self-sufficiency is armor.
Mhm.
It's all armor, and it's all armor. And I've watched now. The more independent someone proclaims to be, really, if you peel that back, they're hurting inside because they have to put up the armor, they have to put the wall, they have to put up this facade that I got it together. I'm thinking, if you're not preoccupied with that, you can show up free and alive and excited about life. It doesn't mean everything in life is perfect because, ooh, life is going to throw you some doozies. But you're prepared to handle those doozies, so to speak, because there's nothing there that's making you feel like I have to make it feel like it's perfect. We know life is not perfect. So when the doozies come, all right, what are we going to do? Your
Mhm.
mindset shifts into problem solving mode.
It's embrace the imperfect, right?
Embrace the imperfect is correct.
Yeah. Well, so what surprised you most about people once you started letting them in?
What surprised me most about people, it was surprising how many of them were hurting.
Mm.
It was surprising how many of them had such fabulous lives on the outside, but inside, when you peel the layers back, it was a wreck. And it was also surprising that when they let the armor down, when they let the guard down, how much they flourished and how quickly they flourished. So being in community with individuals who I saw this happen over time, I was shocked how quickly they were able to just be and realize that life is so much sweeter in that realm.
It turns out it can be, right. And it doesn't have to be scary. Just getting it's everything wonderful always lives on the other side of fear. It's
Yeah,
just kind of powering through that.
yeah,
Here we are with all this planning for in a TED talk about being unscripted, right?
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
I know it's a funny thing. It's like if someone listening, they feel capable but quietly disconnected. What's
Mhm.
one small step they can take toward living more unscripted?
I would say look at the people who you have in your friend circle,
Hmm.
call one of them up and just be real with them. And if they're not ready for that conversation, cross them off the list. Next, you begin to see who's ready to move with you to the next level.
Give us an example of somebody goes to make that phone call. They want to call somebody and they just want to kind of be vulnerable and authentic and real. Give us an idea of how that conversation could go. How somebody might start that conversation or get into that conversation with someone in their world.
I think it happens over a series of conversations. I don't
Mhm.
want to make it sound like just one single conversation because you might catch somebody in an off day. But you begin seeing, are they willing to make time to connect? That's the first thing. So
Mhm.
if somebody's too busy to connect, you know that they're not ready for that level of vulnerability. So you call, are they intentional? I had a dinner at my house a couple of years ago and I call it the intentional dinner. So are they intentional to spend time with you? That's the first sign. If they're not, so you call some people, let's get together. And you never do, you know that right away. So what the conversations sound like? Ask them how their day's doing.
Mhm.
um you be honest about one thing. You go first. I always say you be the vulnerable one first and say, you know what, this happened to me the other day and I didn't even understand. You can share something relatively vulnerable and see how they react. And if you find that they're not able to handle the conversation, keep talking and see what happens. Because most people would say, really, that happened to me too. I didn't know what to do with it. And you find that there's a commonality and there's a bonding that could happen, even if it happens maybe a couple of days after, because some people might be scared by that conversation. But I would say give them one vulnerable piece of your life. I mean, don't give them the darkest, deepest secret quite yet, but something, about how you're feeling about an experience you went through recently, and see how they handle it, and have more of those conversations point by point. I remember having one vulnerable conversation with someone who I wasn't quite sure. It was something, we were going deep into my past. And I remember going into the conversation so scripted, Chris. I already had exactly what I was going to say. And then both of us sat there and I said, I'm not sure if I want to share this with you. And what we realized, we had so much in common. And we sat on the couch and wept because both of us on the outside were very successful women. But here we are with some very deep, intimate experiences that could have shattered us in a previous life. And here we are saying, I didn't know that happened to you as well. But that, start with something vulnerable, easy.
Sharing of yourself.
Yeah, go first. Always go first. Always go first. Always go first.
We treat people, we teach people how to treat us. And I
Yeah.
think it's really, what I'm hearing, it's really about becoming a master of creating space for these unscripted moments to occur. Just kind of am I creating space in my world where, it starts with me, right? Sharing, making myself vulnerable, and then creating the space for others to others to participate in that. And I guess
Yeah,
it's the cream, the cream rises to the top.
it does.
Right?
It does. And this happened with I think about for male-female relationships as well. I know there's a stigma. Men and women can't be friends. But I had a friend who we had
People think
some
that people do think that sometimes, right?
yeah, and you have to have boundaries. Let's get real now. And if your motives if you have questionable motives, that's a whole nother story. But
Sure.
I went through this exercise with a male friend of mine, and he said he had never in his life had a time when he could be that vulnerable with a woman that was not attached to emotional and romantic feelings, because we have taken that away from our society. And in other societies, you can't do that. But here in the US, we are so, it's either black or white. And there's a gray area that if you're mature and if you are authentic and you're intentional, you can be very real and vulnerable. And for me and this male friend, we created a space where we were just having honest conversations about being human without being in romantic overtures.
It's that's great when you're in alignment where
Uh,
hey, this is
uh,
what it is. That's truly a symbiotic thing, right?
Going back to my plant analogy, Chris, it has to be symbiotic. It has to be, we're giving and taking. And what we often find ourselves is in relationships that are just taking, or we're the one giving and giving and giving and giving and giving. And you cannot give from an empty cup. So being able to have someone fill your cup. And the thing I realize in these relationships is a lot of us have sharp elbows, and in these relationships, you have to have someone who can, smooth out those sharp elbows. Meaning, my mentor used to say, my job in your life, Karen, is to be an irritant. I'm thinking, why do I need an irritant? He said, because you need people in your life who are going to tell you the truth in love and be there to walk you through the correction. And we have people who will tell us the truth very harshly, but they're not there to help you through the transformation.
Yeah, huge. I mean, so this is what's the larger impact that you've seen on relationships in general by
Mm.
by living this and teaching this and working with your organizations? What's the larger impact you've seen, like zooming out and seeing it through all your relationships and all the organizations you're working with?
So let's start from a corporate lens. When we're able to talk about, and I talk about in the corporate world, I talk about this through something called the 5 commitments of leading without losing you. So there, when I speak with this in the corporate world, I share with these corporate leaders, men and women, that these are the things you need to do for yourself in order to build strong teams, in order to have a culture that is actually a growth culture and you have morale that's higher. It's a place where wellness and well-being for your employees takes precedence, because when you do that, performance naturally comes. And
Mhm.
you're not worrying about profit margins because you're taking care of your people. So from a corporate standpoint, we've seen that. From a personal standpoint, for me, it's being able to live in a place where I am not hiding anything from anyone. I can enjoy my life in peace. And yes, I have problems, but when I have problems, I'm tackling it from a problem solving mindset, knowing that there's an answer. And if I don't have the answer, I have people I can turn to. And when I look at the impact I'm having with people in my personal life, is watching their lives change. Now that's joy. It's watching people who traditionally have been very tense and closed off begin to tap in and open this door and say, what's behind that door? Behind that door of vulnerability is a sense of peace, a sense of accomplishment that you can simply be, and then move away from the scripts you've been given in life and then explore what will you put on this earth to become, and then do that and do that with joy.
You make it sound so simple, right?
It is the hardest thing. It sounds simple, but listen, it is the hardest thing to do because it means a daily stripping away of you. It means a daily stripping away of the misconceived notions of who you are. It means a stripping away of walking away from the expectations people put on you that were never yours to carry. It means a rewriting of your history because so
Mhm.
many of us are still stuck in the past of who hurt us and what happened here. And you have to let all of that go.
Mm.
And that's where the difficulty comes in. It is not easy, but it sounds easy, but it's not easy. And it's being able to push through even when you feel like, gosh, I didn't expect this to be this difficult.
It's all, and yeah, that's awesome. It's a daily thing. It's
For
like
the rest of your life.
yep, we're every day I always say like, we're giving that ego a beating, and we're I have a thing I always say, don't let people should on you all day, right? Like and we're we should on ourselves more than anybody else does. But
Should do this, should do that. Or well, what? No, you have a purpose. Walk in it.
what's something I'm not asking you that you'd like to share with somebody that might be listening and wants to, integrating a little bit more of this into their life?
I think the first thing I would ask you should ask is when are they scheduling time to do this work? Because for a lot of people, they may hear this interview, and you're thinking, well, I can do that. Well, I'm going to ask your audience to actually schedule what I call thinking time. And that's when you just sit with yourself. I was coaching a leader last week, and I was in the conversation. I asked that leader, when do you sit and think? And that leader went through everything they should be doing for the day. And I said, so when do you strategize about you? No time was scheduled for that. So the first thing, asking your audience, when do you schedule time simply to be? It's not wasting time. It's not doing nothing. It's simply being and strategizing and allowing yourself to think and allowing yourself to hear the instructions that are being given to you. Because all of us have it. You all have it. You're born with it. Instructions are being given to you every day. But if you don't quiet the noise in your head, you hear nothing.
That's awesome. I got the visual. I remember John Maxwell one time was talking about he's got this chair, this big chair, and he has time every day, and he sits in this big chair and he just thinks and asks
Mhm.
himself questions and
Yeah.
jots down notes and things. And that's so important. Why are we not scheduling that internal time? We're so focused on execution and performance, and all these things. And again, all the life and everything around you just shooting on you all the time, what you should be doing. And
Because
I
of
shouldn't,
fun.
hmm, I should be wearing shoes. I shouldn't walk barefoot outside. And I shouldn't, I should off in the middle of the day and go hit golf balls or go out on the boat or something. Right. It's like, I,
Because we're living by the expectations of others. And
that's too bad. Yep. And though we need people, we just have to be very careful we have to be really super solid on we want what we want our life to look like, and be able to share and be vulnerable and welcome in the people that we're meant to have by our side
Oh,
in the
yeah.
garden. I like that. I like that garden analogy.
Yeah.
Whoever
We don't
bringing
want
it down,
things around us now.
that's awesome. But thank you. Thanks, Karen, for sharing with us. I mean, it was such an honest and meaningful conversation, reminding us that growth doesn't happen in isolation. It's happens in relationship. And I mean, this is powerful. If anybody's listening, they want to come check this out and say, yeah, I needed to hear that. Then come join us live in Lake Worth Beach for the TEDx event. Karen's going to be sharing this idea live alongside another 12 incredible speakers, 12 incredible speakers we've got in the lineup, I think. Yeah. So what it really means to live unscripted. So you can grab your tickets at TEDxLakeWorthBeach.com. I did put a link in the comments. And of course, Karen is accessible here online. If you have questions for her, feel free to reach out. Is there anywhere you'd like to send people to in particular if they want to get a hold of you? I know you're big on LinkedIn.
KarenHinds.com. They can find me there, my website. They can go get me on LinkedIn, but my name, KarenHinds.com. I'm right there. Easy to remember, easy to spell.
KarenHinds.com. I did put that in the comments also, so that'll live down here in the comments on YouTube, Facebook. And if anybody has any questions after the fact, feel free to reach out. But otherwise, we hope to see you at the TEDx event. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and thank you, Karen, for sharing this. And it's certainly nice to have these conversations, because you remind us behind every title and accomplishment is a human being who needs connection.
Most definitely. Thanks for having me. Thank you for
listening.
listening.
All right, everybody, keep being awesome. Take care, Karen. Bye.
Bye-bye.